Hi, guys, and welcome to the Pearl by Opal podcast. So, today's topic is power, and I'd like to share with you guys how I found my power. So, if you guys have already listened to some episodes, you probably know who I am. And those of you that haven't, my name is Kaylin. I am an interior designer and a hairstylist, also a salon owner. And I just wanted to talk about, again, like how I found my power. So I hustled, and, whether that be designing for interior design or doing hair, I hustled my butt off. For me, it all started with doing hair in my bedroom bathroom. I had a bathroom that was attached to my bedroom, and I used to do friends and family, and then their friends and their friends started coming, and I was doing so much hair in my little bathroom that my dad was like, okay, let me build you like a little salon. So he built me like this little salon in the basement, and then I got so busy in the basement. And it was cute. Like I had like a chair with like some lighting shining on the chair and a sink. It was like a legit little setup. And I got so busy with that was the breaking point for me, that I realized, okay, I truly want to be an entrepreneur. I can do this. Granted, I was working full time at a salon too, but I was super busy at home. And after that, I realized that I can totally handle doing this somewhere else, because if people will follow me to a basement, they'll follow me anywhere. So, but then I thought to myself, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to literally like open up a salon? And I was doing so much design too that I wanted to have like a dual business of like design and hair. And I caught a lot of slack from people being like, I don't know how you're going to manage this. This is just, you're biting off more than you can chew. And I think if you want it bad enough, you will become resourceful. I could have let negative thoughts or negative voices of others like stop me from achieving my dreams, but I had a vision and a dream of where my life would go. And, I'm the one that's in control of my destiny, no one else. And I need to take ownership of my life. And I could not decide whether I wanted to do hair or do design. For me, a perfect balance would be to do both, because I love them both just as much. So, like I said, I think in life that we all have to make choices on following our dreams and digging down deep and making it happen, and not letting that negativity come in and discourage you. So that was kind of why I felt so strongly about naming this podcast Pearl, because similar to a pearl, an oyster gets like a piece of sand in it and it aggravates it, and it produces all this mucus, which eventually leads to making a pearl. But like the saying goes, no grit, no pearl. It's like that. We could take any negative or adversity in our life as that piece of sand, and we could either let it make us bitter or better. And my motto is like making us better. So we also have like the 3 C's in life: choices, chances, and changes. You must make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change. And choosing faith over fear. Faith over fear. All of our own negativity is rooted from fear. So deciding that freedom is worth more to you than being afraid, and you will change your life forever. So again, like having adversity, or having like being inconvenienced, and not letting the opinion of others bring you down or tell you that you can't accomplish your dreams. I had a lot of that, and I still stuck with it, and I was determined to open up a salon and a design business, and I did just that. But sometimes you're not necessarily going to necessarily know, like, the logistics of it. And I mean, having a business plan or having a plan in place is always wise, and I definitely suggest that. But I think that a lot of why people get stuck, or why they don't pursue things, is because they feel that they have to have all of these things lined up in a row. Like, how am I going to open up a salon? This, that, and the other thing. And like some of the stuff you're not going to know. You're going to figure that out as you go and along the way. And the best advice that I could give to you is that don't think that you need to have all the answers or everything figured out. Just start, just show up, just do it. And each day, a baby step, another baby step, little baby steps in the direction of your goal. So eventually you reach that. Like, for example, when I wanted to do this podcast, I started this podcast or thinking about it a year ago. I'm like, okay, I know that I want to do this podcast. I got out of hair school and I had wanted to listen to a podcast that was geared towards hairstyling and maybe the different avenues that I could have taken. But I mean, maybe something like that existed, but it wasn't enticing enough to keep me listening for more. But I believe that if there is a podcast out there that could explain to hair students and have guest speakers on the show of maybe you don't want to directly be behind the chair, but you would like to be a sales rep or a manager or, what have you, we would have a better chance of people staying in this industry. I think this is a wonderful industry. It's super fun. It's super like a happy environment. It's really rewarding, but it's tough. It's really a tough industry. And I think if people knew more of what it had to offer and different avenues that you could take, we would have a better chance at keeping people in it. Because statistically speaking, 95% of people who go to hair school do not end up staying in this field. That's insane. Like, so you're going to look around at hair school and be like, okay, only 5% of us are actually going to really stay in this field. And that's rough. So I wanted people to know that yes, being a hairstylist is hard work, but it's also rewarding. But if you don't want to directly be behind the chair, there's so many other avenues that like you could do. And I thought by having a podcast and having different professionals in the industry in here and interviewing them and sharing with you guys that you would get a better feel for, okay, this is either for me or, oh, I want to do that. Oh, I didn't think of that. And talking about like if you want to open up a salon, what the logistics of that is and, all kinds of different topics. But, so anyway, I had wanted to open up or start this podcast a year ago and I'm like, I don't know how to start a podcast. Like, I have no idea how to do this. And good old Google, you just Google it and you figure it out. And, but it's taken me a year to get a plan in place. And even still with having a year of a plan and execution is not always enough. It's not always going to answer all of your questions. There's nothing like life teaching you true, like, knowledge, And, so I started with, okay, I want to start a podcast and I want to help other girls. So that was step one. Step two was like, what am I going to name it? And Pearl always resonated deep with me because of like the meaning, like no grit, no pearl. I feel in my life that I've had adversity and negative things that have happened to me. And I'm just one of those people that feels that instead of taking that and getting bitter, I want to get better. So getting the name. Two, like, what am I going to talk about? How am I going to organize this such that it's pretty seamless? That's why we took the letters of Pearl and then came up with like a topic for each one. So P is power, E energy, A adaptation, R reliability, and L life. So then that way we kind of have like a direction on a focus on what we would talk about, and I think cover like a multitude of things, whether, you're just a stylist starting off, assistant, salon owner, or again, you wanted to explore different avenues in this field. So once I had all of that in place, then I'm like, okay, I don't want to just like talk into my iPhone, like willy-nilly start a podcast. Like I really want this to be something. So I'm like, I need a studio. Okay, well, you also need a soundproof box. Like, I don't want to have like a poor quality podcast. So then I had to research like a soundproof booth. I had to research like microphones and like have a sound engineer come in here and like figure out the logistics of all of that. But, so I got that far. So I got a studio, built a sound box, had it all set up. And then I'm like, okay, how do you get like the sound into the computer and then onto iTunes? You think that would have been something that I would have like researched before, but like my mind was just on getting the logistics of it and getting the studio that I don't know, I failed to figure that part of it out. But anyway, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to have everything figured out. You will learn as you go. So obviously I figured it out, and iTunes needs like a third party, and you need an RSS file for iTunes to read. And I'm like, I don't even know what an RSS file is. So that was like a whole adventure in and of itself. But like I dug deep, I did the research, did my homework, figured it out, and here I am. And like, these are things that like sometimes there's some stuff along the way that you're not going to know, and you're not going to know until you do it, until you really get into it. And then these things come up that you might have missed or what have you. But if you are determined and you are willing to put the work in, you're going to figure it out. And now I have this beautiful studio. I figured out the RSS file, got my website up for the podcast, which, by the way, it is pearlbyopal.com. And, all this work that was involved into launching this podcast was about a year-long process for me. So, also with whatever it is that you want to do, knowing that there's no grit, no pearl. Like, you have to put your time in, and you have to like be patient. And, it's taken me 10 years of being in this industry to like get to a point where I am today. And for some of you, like, you have to remember that it's a 10 years of grinding, or 5, whatever it is, of grinding. So then you're experienced enough, or you have like that year that's like your breakthrough, that your life changes or your business changes. And, it took you that long. But I mean, you don't become like great off the bat. And that's the thing I think with a lot of younger girls getting out of hair school, is that they want to hurry up and they want to get on the floor and they want to like be the best like that quick. And like, enjoy your time, like while you have to be an assistant and you have to sweep the floor and you have to like clean sinks and clean trays for other stylists and stuff like that. Because for me, my most crucial time, I was an assistant twice in 2 different salons, and it sucked. It sucked at the time. But and I was an assistant, I think it was a total of like 3 years I was an assistant, because I was working for a salon when I was in college and design school. And then once I was done again, then I became another assistant. But, that was like the most crucial, because it's formed me into like the stylist that I am today. And honestly, in the knowledge that I got, and I honestly don't think that I would be half the stylist, salon owner, like mentor to my staff that I am had I not had that training, So for those of you starting out, like, know that you have to put your time in and be patient, like, to get to where you want to go. So, anyway, I also feel that as a stylist, like, we have the power to like change lives. We have the power to have people in our chair and to breathe life into them. About how many people struggle with like self-image issues, or just a lack of confidence. And as a stylist, like, we see our clients in like a vulnerable state, and it's a little bit just more intimate, because they're wet, they're sitting there, they don't feel the best, like looking at themselves in the mirror or what have you. Or most of them like share their personal life with you. So as a hairstylist, we're pretty much like a therapist, and we have a huge impact on our clients. So my huge why as to why I wanted to do this podcast wasn't just to inspire like my staff or just other girls in the industry, but to really also inspire them to to encourage their clients and realize that you have the power behind the chair to give somebody that's sitting in your chair that like maybe doesn't feel good about themselves or what have you, that you have the power to give them confidence and to build them up, and whatever negative situation they're in, highlight what is positive or highlight what is going to be hopeful for them, So my huge why is, and my mission for this was to educate and give confidence, empowering people to cultivate a positive change in their own life. Because I feel that when I have clients sitting in my chair and they have come to me really depressed or sad, and I just constantly stay positive, I highlight what I think is good in their life and show them a different focus or a different light, I see a change in them. And then the next time they come, like we talk a little more, and I've seen changes in them enough where I feel that I've helped, even if it was just a little bit. And if I feel that I have this power to do that, I think that you guys can do that too. There's a saying that goes like, living a life of service is the most powerful way that you could connect with the world. Your greatness is not what you have, but what you give. So again, if we could give confidence and hope and positivity to not only just each other, but our clients, I think that we could be like game changers, So, anyway, I wanted to go over some certain characteristics that over the years have built me, for greatness. And I want to share those with you guys. It's, one is to have thick skin and be tough. This industry is super rewarding and super fun and happy, but there's going to be times where you have a client who might be struggling with depression or self-image issues, and no matter what you do, you're not going to make these people happy. And I think for me early on, that was like a tough lesson because I used to take everything so personal. But you have to just know that you don't have superpowers and you can't make everybody happy. It's just impossible. And like if they don't like something or they cry or they're just really upset, like you have to not take it personal. You have to have thick skin, and be tough. And but that also goes, we could use that towards anything. I mean, even in business, you have to be tough. You have to have thick skin. I think in general, life just isn't easy. So I think having thick skin and being tough is a good thing to have. So 2 would be you have to have courage. Obviously, it takes courage. Like for me, when I was a new stylist just getting on the floor, I was like, I'm so shy and like an introverted person, which is weird that I'm doing this podcast. But when I first went on the floor, I'm like, oh my God, I can't talk to people. Like, I don't even know I don't know what to say. Like I was just scared. And I had to like pull myself out of my own shell and have courage and have conversations with them, and like, I think like for topics that I like to talk about that help pull me out of my shell was I would be like, do you have any vacations planned? Anything exciting coming up? If there was local fairs going on, I would talk about like, did you go to this festival? Did you go to that festival? I like to talk about food a lot. I like to say, what are you cooking for dinner tonight? I think I'm going to make da 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 da, and just like general happy conversations that are super neutral for like anybody. And people like to share like what they're cooking or what they're eating, or maybe if they work out or if they're going on any vacations. Like that's like fun stuff to talk about. So I started with that, and then that would like direct my conversations, and that really helped pull me out of my shell. But another thing for courage is like for me, when I went from the basement to deciding to own a salon, like having the courage to do that, because there's definitely those negative voices in the back of your brain that are like, I can't do this, but you have to have the courage to do it. So 3 is you have to be disciplined. So yeah, being disciplined, you have to show up every day, obviously for work, or even in your goals. You have to be disciplined to say that, hey, I want to own a salon one day, and each day you keep showing up and you keep doing that. Or hey, I want to be a hairstylist one day, and you have to be disciplined enough to go to school. Hair school sucks. I mean, 1,500 hours here in Connecticut, like you're just sitting there and you're just watching that clock go by until you get those 1,500 hours. It's not a fun time, but it's something that you have to do in order to get the license. So being disciplined is huge. You have to have sacrifice. So there's a lot of things that I've sacrificed in order to get where I am. I have sacrificed time with my friends or family, and in order to make my dreams happen with this business and this podcast. And this year, like I said, was a grind year and a hustle year for me, getting this podcast situated and built and figured out. That like my friends are like, oh my God, where are you? I haven't seen you in forever. And I'm like, maybe next year, next summer I'll have more time, but not this summer. And so that's like a huge sacrifice, You have to learn to adapt. So adapting is huge because we have to adapt in life no matter what we do. I mean, how often have any of you guys like moved or got a new car or a new job? Like, it's constantly adapting. I mean, we even have to adapt to like social media changes, but in your business, you will find that you do have to adapt to, especially this industry, the ever-changing salon industry and the new things that are coming out, and you have to constantly keep your knowledge on the up and up if you want to be successful and have your clients coming back and they feel like, oh my God, like, yeah, I like to see Kaylin because she constantly knows like the new trends and she tells me what's in style and all of these things. Like that's another way of adapting. Or if you're a salon owner, like changing or even if you're a renter and I also suggest if you're a stylist too, that you guys constantly update like your website. Like even when I was a stylist working for another salon, I had a website. My Instagram name is Glam by Kaylin, and it was glambykaylin.com. And I had like all of my work and like a biography about myself. And, I think clients like that because they can really see who you are, but it was constantly adapting and finding out how to be better and how to change and stay on the up and up. You have to learn to be patient. Again, talking about like how it's taken me 10 years to get to where I am now. Patient is key. And again, for like the girls getting out of hair school, you don't want to rush like your assistant position just to get on the floor. Like, be patient, put in your time and you'll get there. Patience is key, and it's hard. It's really hard to be patient, but trust me, you'll be glad that you were. So, if you have what it takes, it doesn't matter where you are or how you start. Even if it is a basement, anything is possible. I think that all of these qualities, having thick skin and being tough, courage, to be resourceful, disciplined, to have sacrifice, learning to adapt and be patient is crucial if you want anything in this life. So just to conclude this podcast, again, the topic was power. I just wanted to let you guys know that I found my power being an entrepreneur. And it all started in the basement, or better yet, my bathroom in my bedroom. And I just want you guys to know that anything is possible. It doesn't matter where you start, as long as you begin heading towards that goal that you want. Whatever it is that you want to do in your life, whatever dreams or goals it is that you want, don't play yourself small. Don't think that you cannot obtain them. Because if you have all these qualities that I listed and you're willing to do it, you can have whatever you set your mind to. And I want you guys to remember, no grit, no pearl. Thank you guys for listening to my show. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up. If you are listening on iTunes or SoundCloud, if you guys can screenshot and share on your Insta stories so your friends can see. And please spread the word for any other hairdressers out there that would enjoy this podcast. I would really appreciate that. And again, thank you guys for listening in.